This is so small. Yep. To expand a little further. Okay. So we'll look at client to server. We'll set up the client to server, but not actual the server machine running and the serviceability may be available publicly. That will come next week or after when we set up Google Cloud. But today we'll do the minimal steps of client and server models. It could be microservice architecture. So client to server models has been well and successfully developed and deployed and so popular these days. That is a web application. So we have a web server, application server, database server that can collaborate to give services to client. So client will be usually lightweight of the web browser. Client does not have any the application or code involved activations on server on client side. Initially, when I first set up web applications about 30 years ago, then client is like Adobe, it's a web browser. Right now, server can even send some of the code, which is JavaScript, for example. Then JavaScript runs on your server side, I mean the client side. Server can do a little bit of work, and your client can do the rest of the work. The thin client that the world developed and used decades ago was only a dummy web browser. Only display. Display was the function of the web browser at the client side. But now, more than that, right? Okay, so back end, as you can see here, database server. And in the middle, we have an application server and web servers. So if we are thinking of architecture or data flow, then it goes like this. On the right end, there's a database, and left end, we have the browser, web browser. So application server runs some of the software that you may call it middleware. So we set up some of the application servers and the back end database. Of course, the front end of that server side should some of the web services available. So we call that web server. So client side web browser. And front end technologies is simply HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They all run at the client side. Some of the tools and libraries that you may use, React, Angular. I think React is very, very popular, right, when you set up web servers. So server itself, the Apache server, that's what we will set up when we have Google Cloud. So what is a web server? Web services. It handles incoming HTTP request from client. And then also we reply. Whatever the server make ready to return. So it could be static files, or it could be generated from a databases, depending upon web server, depending upon the application servers. application servers, JavaScript, Node.java, maybe, Django, Ruby. Ruby is also very popular. But we're going to use PHP, which is not bad. So PHP can handle JSON very, very effectively. So JSON server or API services or RESTful servers can run using some of the technologies that you see here. So in the application server sits in between web services and database. So you can access database. We call that fetch data from databases. Update the data. By the way, we will set up maybe the second half of this, the class notes, my lecture notes. There may be something that we have to install. First of all, MySQL, and then Flask. Anybody has set up the Flask for your Python yet? So we'll set up Python virtual environment. So that Python virtual environment, if we run Flask, then it can be some small minimum size of a client server, web services, like a toy. So database, the real database will considered from next week, not today, because if we do so many things to install, then somebody may fall off from the pace that we are moving. So we need to do a little bit slower, particularly if there is some systematic issues. Some students may not be ready to follow only because of the work environment is not ready. So department does not provide you a work environment. Everything is ready, so you come and sit down and some of the codings. That is usually, that's only till many decades ago. When I was students, then everything is provided by the department. So department has quite a few technicians, so they can set up everything. So students, there's pros and cons. Pros, the classroom goes smoothly well because everything is ready. There's no interruptions. There's no disruptions from students. Hey, professor, I do not have that. I do not have this. Then instructor cannot move by ignoring that students, right? At least that is a pro. What is the cons? If everything is provided, then although students learn something, but not complete. If somebody asks that students to do, suppose students graduates and join the company. So companies want him to do, but those students might say, I can do it if something is provided. When you join the company, if some company does not provide you everything that you need, you have to build everything that you need, right? There is no other people supporting you. You are the person to support your client, right? So that is the cons. Students may not learn everything they need. So what is the case here at Mercer University? Our department does not have any technicians to set up any class. So everything should be done by the instructor. But if the instructor asks you to do the same thing as instructors demonstrates, then each student needs to do the same thing, right? Everything needs to be done from scratch. That's what we are doing. So you may learn a lot. Okay, so we'll do Flask today. So application server hosts the business logic, process, request, request from user, right? With that request, this application server, middleware, should interact with the database. So application server should tell the database, hey, I need this data. So it called nothing but data fetch, right? Or sometimes your application server needs to update the database. Generates dynamic content, which means your application server needs to generate web pages based on the data from database. So generating dynamic web page can be done also in PHP. Of course, they can do also Node.js, Django, yeah, so many other. Ruby. Ruby is so popular. If you join most of the companies, and if your role is application services, then Ruby. Java, same thing. So it has controller components, model components, and view components. Model usually is nothing but the data. Okay. Model is the data. If you learn, usually I am teaching also the mobile technologies, usually spring semester. There, you guys can build iPhone apps developments. The architecture of iPhone apps, there's a models, it's a big end, which is a database, right? Database needs to be set up in many ways. It could be set up on cloud services so that your cell phone needs to fetch data from the cloud, or you can set up the database on your local device. They're all models representing data structures and interact with the database. Controller, there's nothing but the program, logic, implementations. Handle incoming request, return responses. View, there's visualizations. Visualization may not be the primary concern by many developers, but almost all the cases, views cannot be ignored. Views, that determines your products. If you display something very impressive way, then your client will buy it. Although the engine runs perfectly fine, but if the front-end visualization doesn't look good, then no one wants to buy it. So view is very, very important. Database server, that's the back end. This is the engine side, right? MySQL. Postgres. Before we have the Postgres, there was so-called Ingress. Ingress was the database invented by UC Berkeley. So Ingress is a college products. It was led by the Professor Mike Stonebreaker. He was at Berkeley for several decades. Right now, he joined Harvard. I do not know why he joined Harvard. Harvard is not tech leading universities. The MongoDB, Microsoft SQL Server, or Oracle. Personally, I like Oracle the best. Academia-wise, Postgres is good. For Mercy University, I think MySQL is more feasible, so we are going to use MySQL. Flow of web application. There are two kinds of applications, right? Web application or mobile application. Mobile application is the application that you guys have your cell phones. Web application, so through the web browser. So client request is start from client request. So client can request by responding, by clicking some, by entering on the text field. Then it goes to web server. So web server receives the request. If the request is for static file, then simply show. If it requests for dynamic content, then your web server needs to talk to the application server. So that application server processes the request using its controls. Controller may need to interact with the backend database to fetch data or update data. Don't forget, when you update the data at the backend database or through your application server by your, for example, middleware database, even if you update any data in database, unless you do really explicit commit, then database may not keep it persistently. That is what it meant, the database services. Everything that you update, that should still reside on the memory itself. It is not flushed back to your database storage. I think you guys learned it already. And database server, if application server needs data, it queries the database. And then finally respond to the client who posed the request. That is the data flow. Technologies needed at the front end, HTML, of course. And then CSS, JavaScript, React, Angular, Vue.js. So Java related things is the dominant. Web servers, Apache in our case. Application server, we looked at already, but in our case, PHP. Database server, MySQL. Example scenario for these things, but when you can think of this for your. You guys have the project, right? Don't forget that. We do not have exam for this class, so you are free from stress on the examinations, but you still have another kinds of stress, or maybe joy when you do some of the project. This is an individual project. Group project sometimes, but I don't think it's a good idea for each individual's skill. I mean, in order to gain the skills, then you guys need to do that on your own. But you guys have another class, capstone. Capstone. Your capstone is a group or individual. I think a capstone is to be group.
I think for the bachelor's degree, right? And for the master's, I think it's separate.
Group. Yeah, bachelor's individual is a must. Because anyway, gaining skill sets is the most important in your case.
Maybe because of the number of the students, so that there's more than
Yeah, many students. So, for example, 40 students, then 40 project comes in. Too many. So group project, relatively good. For masters, reason I'm saying the group project may be good is because if, first of all, your project needs to be much bigger than the undergraduate individual project. It should be big. The bigger project that you plan, the more that you can learn, the more interaction that you may experience. So the collaboration is very important. After your graduation, when you join any industries, then always you need to collaborate with somebody else. at certain point in time, there may be one employee, one IT guys may be involved in 2-3 different projects. All the team members are not the same, right? You may work on project 1 with the different group, project 2 with the different group, the other groups, project 3 maybe the external groups. So all different collaborations and interactions are needed. So you guys need to do a little bit of the exercises while you are in the academia, I guess. Then, yeah, this is one of the scenarios that you may consider if you want to do. Yeah, you guys need to do your individual projects.
We haven't discussed about project yet, right? I see on the syllabus.
We don't really discuss, but you guys need to present what you're going to do sooner. I can give you some timeline, so you need to think of. I think in next maybe 2-3 weeks before the midterm. Let's say we have a 15 weeks, then maybe at the latest the 6th week. If we set up the project 8th week, then maybe we lose already so many weeks, right? We have only the weeks that we elapsed much more than the weeks to come. Then we do not have enough weeks to accomplish your work. This is a good time that I remind you guys. So you guys think of what you want to do. So as I said, for your the project, you need to include cloud server. You need to include Raspberry Pi. You need to include your laptop. 3 devices needs to be involved. What are you going to do? That is open. Okay. What are you going to do? What are you going to build? What are you going to do? Are you going to build some of the web services, or are you going to do simply request and response type of things? A lot of things that you may consider. The one that I may give you some demo, but I have a lot of things that I'm doing, that I have been doing. We didn't commercialize it yet. This scenario may help you to plan what you want to do. Let's say this. You can think of any entities. It could be hospitals, it could be hotels, could be schools. What is the common things that I am thinking of right now? What is the common? Hospital, hotels, or high school, colleges, or even the government.
Yeah, IT system with users and data.
Common thing is there are lots of rooms. Each room has a lock management. We have a lock over there, right? That is controlled remotely, right? It does not have the classical keys, metal keys to open. You can think of the hotel reservation. Usually you reserve hotels using some of the internet, right? Internet booking systems, maybe booking.com or hotels.com. There's so many the internet reservation services available. Let's say you are running a hotel. Then hotel does not know until that internet company who has the reservation information notify you, right? So they said, hey, we have 20 clients to stay at your hotel. Everything is electronically. So tell your company, your hotel. Then your hotel receives the data from there. Then your hotel has its own computer, right? So set up hotel rooms. Hotel has also the classic metal keys, or hotel has also, they allow you to use your cell phones, so a cell phone can open it. But they don't give you cell access immediately. But if you say, I'm going to use my cell phones to enter my hotel room, then you need to, I think, declare at least a couple of days earlier. Then they set up your and give you app. App can be automatically appear on your cell phones. At the same time, your lock should understand your cell phones, right? Can it be done remotely? Should be, right? Otherwise, IT guys needs to come to each room and set up some. No, everything should be done remotely, maybe automatically. So which day, what is their time period to stay? Once the client check out, then that lock should be reset, right? Everything should be automatically. So what kind of device is involved there? Cloud server. One of the example cloud server is Booking, right? There's a cloud server. Cloud server communicate with the client by, for example, web, right? So we can register by web app or mobile app. Anyway, it is it is requested. Then that cloud server needs to talk to your hotel. Hotel has maybe hotel server. Maybe at least the hotel has some client laptop, right? They need to talk. And also, what about the lock? Lock has some of the microcontrollers, like your Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi has communications. Raspberry Pi has some of the processing, computings. So Raspberry Pi set up some database. So while you are in that room, that Raspberry Pi sitting on your lock understands, I have this kind of clients in my room. If there are not only one cell phones, a group of families wants to stay in a room, then all of those family members should have that access, right? Martina, you said you used the cell phones to check in your hotel rooms.
Yes.
How many people have you done? How many you use alone or with the group?
Yes, alone.
Have you done with the summons so that if you have maybe 3 people, then each one could have cell phone access?
Yeah, I
cell phone
think
access.
so.
Then you need to when you register, then you need to register all those 3 cell phone information to the reservation, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, they do not know who else, what are the numbers of cell phones needs to access, right? Then the same information needs to talk to cell phone 1, cell phone 2, cell phone 3. Your Raspberry Pi on that lock, door lock, needs to understand, hey, this is a cell phone 1, this is signal is from cell phone 2, this is from cell phone 3. So as we expand this idea and more, so complicated, right?
Some apartments already have that.
Right, apartment has that, and I was thinking of, for example, the school. School has gun violations, right? Then we have kids. Kids are almost all innocent, right? Almost all the kids are innocent, not like us. But they are killed by gun. So how can we protect our kids at school once there is a gunman enter that school buildings? Then most of the school has the doors, not only the classrooms, not like here in the Mercy College at Manhattan. By the way, it has one, right? So each hallways, there's also doors. So there are some partitions, the hallways. So doors can be locked if something happens one place. If they identifies, hey, gunman entered into our buildings, then if that is available, then door can locked in front of him and from back side. So he may be in one closed space. Can you make it automatically? Technically, is it hard? No, it is not, right? Only the matter is, how can you make it? How can they work timely and with no failure, right? So that type of things is all the scenario that you can think of. It's not just the computer itself. It has some mobile technology involved. You don't need to do cell phones involved in your project because you guys do not do that yet, right? I do not ask you to do cell phone involved in your project. That's too much, number one. Number two, that may not be your work. So I want to help you to gain skills on your own, right? Not just demonstrate the skills from something else. So here, so we'll do today Python and Flask. MySQL, we will defer this MySQL next week because there's another setup and we need to create database, create tables, and we need to populate the data. There's another time consuming. So we'll do Python and Flask. On your laptop. We didn't include yet Google Cloud. Okay? So, using Flask. Even using Flask, we need to extend the functionalities, we need the database setup. As I said, the database setup is not ready today, right? That's too much. So we'll do middleware and client over Flask. What is a Flask? Flask is a lightweight web application framework written in Python. So your application can be written in Python once you set up a virtual environment. It is designed to make getting started quick and easy with the ability to scale up to complex applications. Flask provides tools, libraries, technologies that allow you to build a web application without requiring the overhead of a full stack framework like Django. We were talking about the chemistry, right? Chemistry class, they use a Flask, right? Very similar to that, Flask. So we're going to play within Flask. If you bring your websites, there is a flask.pelletsproject.com. Then there is a Flask. I think the next slide has that the websites. flask.pelletsproject.com/en/3.0.x installation /Python version. That is the Python. So the Flask. So while I am talking here, so you guys can take a look at that. Flask is known for being minimalistic, flexible, Pythonic. So Python is the language to build that. Flask is suitable for simple single-page application, RESTful APIs, and microservices. Prototyping and development of larger applications. So let's look at that Flask. This is a Flask Python version. Installations comes a little later. Dependencies. So Flask uses many of these, so we do not need to worry about, right? Optional dependencies, Python.env. This is the virtual environment that we want to set up. So virtual environment that we want to set. Here's the way that you need to do. There's a steps that you guys need to do. So let's do that together. So you need to bring up your terminal. So you have Mac, we have 2 Windows. Mac can do much better. I haven't tried with this on Windows. Mac is generally running on the Linux, so you can do the work. Almost all the work that you can do on Mac. Mac somehow easier for naive users. Mac is definitely for developers because it runs on Linux. So you guys can go to, let's say, .545. Go to the directory where you want to store this class. So in my case, I think I need to make this bigger. Shell. Terminal settings. Yeah, text. General. Profile. No. General.
Want to
Paste
increase
it.
the text size?
Yeah.
It's there. If you go to the profiles.
Oh, was it in
Yeah,
profile?
it's here, font. After this background. Yes, this right. This font. You
Which
can
one?
change. SF mono regular right. You have change. You can
I don't
change
see
the
it.
font size from there.
Oh, here?
No,
No.
not change. Then change.
Which one? Color, background, images.
From here, this change.
Oh, there's a small one. Is this? Oh yeah, there is a size of this. Oh, thank you. Is this a size 14?
Yes.
Not really big to me. So let's make it 18, a little bigger. Regular. The other looks good. It doesn't. Is it 18 right now? Is it changed?
Is there any update button over there?
That's what I'm curious.
Yes, 6
24. Not moving, right? Which one that I need to make it impact? There's nothing that I can do. Change it, save something general. Okay, is it clear enough for you guys? I think it is good, right? Okay. So go to that right now, and then I think that next slide guide you. Yeah, here. This is what I did. This is my laptop, right? So JUN and MKDIR. I wanted to set up MKDIR. So MKDIR, you name it. But in this case, I think I will name it with the Flask. Flask 09 today is 18. 1824, that is my Flask directory. And then change that Flask directory by change directory cd Flask 091824. Here we need to set up Python 3 minus m. We want to make virtual environment, so venv, and then that virtual environment name is .venv. I'm not sure this is also possible in, I think it's possible in the Windows. Windows has also dot directories, right? Yeah, I know. You can do this exactly the same one for Windows command. So Python 3 minus m, which is for making inventory. I want to make inventory. What is the inventory? Not inventory. Virtual environment. What is a virtual environment directory? I can call it .venv. Enter.
So we're installing Flask, right?
No, not yet, not yet. We want to make a virtual environment.
Yeah.
Then after that, we can set up Flask. What virtual environment do for you is set up your own environment virtually, which doesn't affect, which is not affected by global Python environment. So your independent small environment needs to be set first, where we want to install Flask. Okay, that is a lightweight of. I think it's clear to me. I'm not sure. Nam, can you?
Yeah, I can
Since-
read it.
okay.
I'm not. Yeah.
I don't. Anybody has any errors yet?
So what we're doing is we're setting up the virtual
Okay,
environment in a project.
it's a virtual environment. No, not the project for today's select.
You seed it into a specific directory then, right?
Right. So we can see it by ls minus a
Yeah.
or al. Then we can see it .env.
Okay.
So change it .venv. Then you may be able to see some of the virtual environment where we can run some of the binary code. So put here cd binary. Then those are the languages that we can set up. For example, pip here or activates. Those are the language that we do here only within this virtual environment. If we set up something, then it affects all global Pythons. What we want to do here using virtual environment, I want to set up Flask within that small territories, not mingled with the global
Yeah.
Python.
Okay.
Okay, so a little more clean shots within my directory. Here, therefore, we can do here the next one. This is the language. Within this .env bin directory, I already there, right? pwd. I already in bin directory. So what I need to do is ./bin. No, I don't need to do bin. I already within bin so that I activate. /activate. I want to make sure that your prompt now, not simply base, but .env. Remember that here, .env? I used to have only base. This is a base terminal. You guys, if you do not have, fine. That's perfectly fine. But after you disactivate, you need to have this, .venv. There's a virtual environment. From these points, your work is performed within that virtual environment. What is next things? We need to install Flask using PIP. PIP is in this place, right? So you need to do PIP install Flask. Is it the language? Yes. Hit enter. No errors. Successfully installed the Flask 3.0.3, Jinja, makeup safe. WorkZip. This is similar to your last name.
Hmm?
It's similar to your last name.
Oh yeah.
Is it? Your last name is?
Wieczorek, yeah. What?
Is it Polish products?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that is not your language?
No,
Oh, I see.
more like German.
Oh yeah.
So,
Linker, click.
My activate script seems to be in a folder called scripts, not bin. Can we actually-
Windows, I'm not sure how Windows.
I think I worked them. Let's see. It's there. Yeah. Okay. I should get rid of it. Should be able to. Yep.
Congratulations.
Just a little bit.
Here we do a little bit of. We're not going to do real system here. We'll do that next week when we set up MySQL real work, but TOEI. So let's make a small program here, hello.py. So that is small ones. I'm using a VI editor, so you can use whatever editor that you are familiar with within Linux. So VI hello.py, and then you can type from Flask import capital Flask and app equal Flask underscore underscore name underscore underscore close parenthesis, and then that app runs route top directory slash. What that means is that within that Flask of your application, you can your environment there's your new environment. So slash is not top level of the file system of your whatever platform of yours. That is within your virtual machine top levels. You can make your own file systems within your virtual machines. So that is a slash. So your applications, Python applications, may make your own independent structure, file structures from there. We can define hello world. Return, and then we can make a web browser. Hello, let's say Dr. Yoon, which is me. You can do your own. Okay, so we need to do save this. So my application program is ready. Then this is the language that you set up. You start the Flask. So Flask minus app. You now run application. As I
do we save it before?
oh, you have to, yeah.
Okay.
I saved it.
And that hello.py file, it lives in the same folder as that virtual environment, right?
Mine is here, yeah. Whatever this py file runs, where you need to run this Flask, or you can specify the path expressions from.
Yeah.
This is your top within your. I'm not sure. This is not actually your top.
I think that's
Because I am now in. I
Yeah.
changed my directory to bin,
The
so that is me. That is mine.
so right now you're in the virtual environment when you type list there. Oh, that's-
I think I need to. Where is it? Yeah, that's a good question. I think I need to move this to the top of that within virtual machines. Right now I am in bin directory. So what I want to do, I want to move this hello.py to the top directory, which is here. So that is a .benv. My file hello.py is here. So I can run a Flask here, Flask minus app, and hello. You don't need to type extensions of the file .py because Flask is written in, Flask understands Python. And we are now within Python virtual environment. And another option is run. So you run, and then make sure that there is a serving Flask app hello. So your Flask needs to now run that specific application, hello application. Debug mode off. You can build debug mode, but right now we don't. This is a development server. Do not use that. And running. This is a run on http://127.0.0.1:5000. So port number is 5000. You need to access that from your web browser, new web browser. You can say simply, oh yeah, http that address, and hit enter. Then it says hello Dr. Yoon. So your web browser and your Flask is ready to serve from web access.
Professor, sorry. How to get out from the text document? When I wrote the hello world, what do I do next?
Oh, shift to ZZ to save.
Oh.
Oops, no. You have to do escape and shift.
Okay, shift and ZZ.
You are also in here. I wanted to push it one level up, so move it to one level up. Now your hello is not here.
Okay.
Go to one level. Your hello.py is here.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Malik, are you good?
Yeah.
The same thing. This is from web browser. Is there any other way that you can access this? Web browser is only one tool, right? So I want to close this. I want to have another shell, another terminal, another shell. So this shell wants to access that shell. What do you do in that case? Next slide. See, this is from your web browser, right? C URL. Okay, that is I think C URL command is not only Linux but also I think Windows as well. C URL command line tool is used for transferring data to or from a server using the various protocols such as HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, and more. It is widely used for testing APIs, downloading files, and interacting with the web services directly from your terminals. The question here is, can you do this not using web browser, but this is more developer side, right? So I want to access my web server from my terminal, my developer's terminal, not the web browser. In that case, we need to use C URL. So there's a C URL. C URL has these many options that you can use. If you want to fetch the header of that URL, then -L or -head. Minus uppercase L or minus location, then HTTP redirects possible. -O output, -D if you want to send the data. Remember that from your web browser, if you have that text field, then user can enter, and then finally submit button. Can you do that all on your terminals as if your client works on web browser? Developer usually use it. Developer don't do the client side. Developer at the developer side. So you can do that a lot more than naive client. So you can send the data. when user click the submit button, then all that user entered the data together with that URL and ship, right? That is what they do usually. Because you PHP developer, then PHP do that, right? Everything in one go. Same thing here, possible. So that minus data, and then you can user enter the values can be plugged in that option, minus data, and send. We're going to work on next week, for example, if we have MySQL running back end, you want to update your database, not by web browser, but by your terminals. Then you need to put there minus D and then data that you want to update, so that your Flask receives this, and your Flask talk to back end MySQL, and the MySQL can be updated. This is Flask is very, very handy. So for example, if we're working on Google Colab, what is Google Colab? Google Colab file in Google Colab is not on your laptop. It's Google, right? So how can you say Google server to talk to your laptop where there is MySQL, and then data fetch and display on their Google page? That type of things can be done like this, Flask. Okay. So I wanted to read some of the documents from the Flask, get a little more familiar, ideally. Okay. So this is handy. So minus X, the command, some request method, if you want to post to some or get, like HTTP protocols, the protocols can be used here on this call, because the call can do nothing but HTTP. Well, your web browser, when you click this, then HTTP protocol is moving. Same thing that you could do using call command. -u, user password, -k for insecure, minus proxy if you want to use a proxy. So here's the thing. Then you can simply here on your, remember here, this is the server. Our Flask is still running here, right? So I want to use the call, CURL, and then HTTP ://127.0.0.1:5000. That is exact the URL that we used for web browser, right? Remember, this is web browser. So that URL goes with the CURL command, then hit enter. What is returned? This is returned. Hello, Dr. Yu. Very similar to the one that I have here, right? And then this server realized that, hey, this is the first time get when I had that web browser. This is the second time when I had the CURL. Timestamp here, 1 o'clock, here 12:52. This is the respond for web access. This is a respond for command line. Okay, so this is something that we could do. Any questions so far? So one time you practice, you know everything. That is a real joy, right? That is technical joy. There's one moment, just 1 second, you know, oh, I got that, right? If you don't have, then you do not know what is going on. Everything is like novels. Okay. So we do a little more real actual work here. This will come back next week. So, yeah, MySQL. I want to explain about MySQL, and next time when you come, I want you to get your laptop ready with MySQL, okay? Then next week we'll do Flask. Flask can communicate. Your web browser can communicate through Flask all the way back to your local MySQL server. So what is MySQL? MySQL is a database. It can run on multiple platforms. Language SQL, we need to use the DDL, DML to define database table and populate data. We need to make our MySQL runs perfectly well. Then we can come back to integrate with the Flask. MySQL download. You can download it from. I want to download it, not any fancy server, but community servers. So it can be. If you go to MySQL, mysql.com, there's a download. You can look others, but you don't try to do much. Here's the things. One thing, the last. That's for free. MySQL community download. Click on that. And here again, there are many others. Don't do others, but MySQL community server. This is the server that I ask you to download and install. Click on that. There's a 9.0.1, and then your platform. Okay, so choose proper the software packages for you to run. For Mac users, as you guys know, Mac right now till two different processors available, right? Intel processor or ARM processor. If you have an ARM processor, then your processor is called M1 or M2. If your laptop has M1 or M2, then you need to choose ARM processors. If you have Intel, then x86. Okay. Then you can install. Okay, when you install, here's the thing, very, very important. As you install and configure it asks you to enter root privileges, root password. That root password needs to remember. Don't forget that root password. Write it somewhere, and then while you are using this MySQL, you need to know that root password. Put it somewhere, or simply, make it simple. Don't forget that. Only one thing that you have to be sure that you know root password for MySQL. Otherwise, you have to reinstall. Would there be another way that you can recover root password? Usually, DBMS root password is very, very important, but you cannot recover it. Definitely not by remote access, but technically, possibly, you can do it if you are sitting on the console. Anyway, this is your laptop. This is your console. What that means is that you can still recover. Still recover, but hectic, right? Not impossible, but hectic. So keep root password securely, and also make it available at any time for you to use. Okay, that is MySQL. We already did. I said here, keep a root password somewhere, so that we can next week we'll set up MySQL, some of the tables, and therefore through this Flask we can talk to the database. So this is next week's. Any question? Okay. So what is the homework assignments?
Can
My homework assignment is this, simple. I'll just finish. I want to see whether you set up your MySQL. That's this week's assignments. I want to make sure that everybody's laptop having MySQL running. Therefore, we can move forward next week. This is it. Did I record?
Before you end the recording, could we talk a bit about
Oh yeah, I recorded it. Thank you.